Okay, so welcome everyone. Today we're doing a bit of a deep dive into a story many of us know or think we know, Jonah and the whale.
Yeah, it's iconic.
It really is.
Yeah.
But we're specifically looking at it through this interesting lens, an excerpt where Jesus is actually explaining it to a child.
Right, which gives it a slightly different feel, perhaps, a different emphasis.
Exactly. And our sort of mission today is to unpack what this ancient story, especially told this way, really tells us about, well, obedience, and maybe even more about getting a second chance.
That second chance theme feels really central here. It's
Yeah.
fascinating how this, seemingly straightforward story for a kid touches on these pretty big theological ideas.
Totally. So let's jump right into the main event everyone remembers, Jonah getting swallowed by the whale.
The whale incident.
It's one of those moments in the Bible that it kind of makes you stop and go, wait, really? A giant fish?
It does sound, well, unbelievable on the surface,
Right.
but the crucial detail in this telling and in the original
Wow.
is that this wasn't just some random, maritime mishap.
Ah, okay. How so?
Well, the text specifically mentions God sent that whale.
Right. Okay, so that changes the dynamic completely. It's not accidental.
Not at all. It reframes the whole thing. It connects directly back to Jonah's actions before he ended up in the water.
Which was basically running away, right? He was flat out disobeying what God asked him to do.
Precisely. He was told to go to Nineveh, preach against its wickedness, and he just went the other way. Booked passage on a ship heading in the opposite direction.
And, it's kind of relatable, isn't it? That feeling of just really not wanting to do something you probably should, maybe something difficult or unpleasant.
Absolutely. That human element of resistance, of avoidance, it's right there.
Yeah.
But even in that act of defiance, that running away, God is still involved, the storm, the whale, it's all part of the narrative driven by divine attention.
So the disobedience, it doesn't just end the story.
No, quite the opposite. It actually sets up this powerful theme of the fresh start. Despite Jonah deliberately disobeying, the story pivots. It doesn't just conclude with, say, punishment and that's it.
It leads to this opportunity inside the whale.
Well, yeah. It leads to the whale, and the purpose of the whale, according to this excerpt, is very clear.
Which brings us right back to that quote you mentioned.
God sent that whale to give him a second chance. It's incredibly direct.
Wow. So it turns what looks like, a terrifying consequence into an act of grace, a rescue almost.
You could definitely see it that way. An unconventional rescue, maybe. But yes, a chance to rethink, to repent, and to get back on track. Makes you think, doesn't it?
Yeah, it does. Like, how often do we view obstacles or difficult situations in our own lives as purely negative?
Instead of maybe seeing them as, well, potential turning points, or even chances to try again, maybe differently.
That's a really powerful way to frame it. And it connects so well when the child in the story asks that simple question.
Oh yeah, the child pipes up with, like, when I don't listen to my parents.
It's perfect. So simple, so everyday. Just a kid connecting this huge story to their own small world of not following instructions.
And Jesus's response there is just so warm and practical. He doesn't scold. He basically says, say you're sorry and try to do better next time.
Yeah, it brings this massive biblical narrative right down to earth, makes it completely applicable. You mess up, you own it, you try again.
It reinforces that making mistakes, stumbling, that's part of being human. The important thing is the response, seeking forgiveness, making amends, recommitting.
Which underlines that other key line from the excerpt, never. God calls us to obey, and when we stumble, he offers a fresh start.
That never is powerful, isn't it? Does God give up on us when we disobey? Never.
It speaks volumes about consistency, about this persistent care, this grace that's always on offer. Even when we, actively turn away, we aren't just abandoned.
Exactly. And you see the impact of that message in the child's reaction right at the end.
Oh, yeah. What's that?
The child just says simply, I'm glad God's so patient.
Oh, that really captures it, doesn't it? That sense of relief and gratitude for forgiveness, for new beginnings. It's profound in its simplicity.
It really is. The core message lands perfectly.
So, wrapping this up for everyone listening, the key takeaways from this deep dive seem pretty clear. First, yes, obedience matters. Following what we feel called to do is important.
But perhaps just as important is acknowledging that we do stumble, we make mistakes, we run the other way sometimes, like Jonah.
And the really comforting truth highlighted here, especially through that conversation with the child, is the constant availability of second chances, that persistent, patient offer of a fresh start.
Definitely. It's a message of hope. ultimately.
So maybe a final thought to leave folks with. Just consider those times in your own life, maybe when you avoided something you felt you should tackle.
Or perhaps think about a time when maybe unexpectedly you got another opportunity after messing up or feeling stuck. How might Jonah's experience and this idea of divine patience, how might that offer a new perspective on those moments?
Something to mull over. Great stuff. Thanks for unpacking that with me.
My pleasure. It's a rich story.